Okay, I am seeing that this broadcast is live, so I hope you can all see and hear me at this point. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for attending MCE Women's Powerhouse Series. So today is our second session in a three-part series, and each is designed to inspire female-identifying students on their entrepreneurial journey and to build your confidence so you can build your business. So my name is Rachel Poutler. I'm actually coming in from Kitchener, Ontario. I am MC's newest startup coach, and I'm available to book meetings with you to discuss your business ideas. I will be returning as host of the last session on December 1st as well. So before we jump in today, we would like to acknowledge that the lands on which Memorial University's campuses are situated are in the traditional territories of diverse Indigenous groups, and we acknowledge with respect the histories and cultures of the Beothuk, Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Inuit of this province. We encourage everyone to reflect on the lands where you are located and the Indigenous peoples for whom these lands are traditional territory. I also want to mention an event that we have coming up at MCE. We're holding a prep course for our Mel Woodward Cup. Jason Trask will be running the session at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. So once again, that is Prep for Mel Woodward Cup, which is where we give away up to $25,000. So if you want some funding for your business, I recommend checking out this session. So it's 9 a.m. on Tuesday. If you're interested, check out our social media pages or reach out to us for more information. Amazing. With that, let's get started. Okay, awesome. So today we're going to be talking about some of the more common challenges in entrepreneurship. So these are going to be challenges faced by all entrepreneurs, but we'll also add some specific additional challenges faced by female identifying entrepreneurs as well. So I'll start with an overview of some of the common challenges, and then we're going to break off into groups to discuss some of the challenges that you have personally faced and how you either overcome them or get some ideas from the group for help. Awesome. Thank you for pulling up the slides. All right, so we have all seen what it looks like to be a successful entrepreneur. I mean, look at this woman. She's clearly rocking it. She's running an amazing business. She's hitting all of her goals, and she is absolutely loving life, right? This is what we all want to be as a successful entrepreneur. Well, the reality is a little bit different. Starting a company is really hard. So starting and running a business demands a lot of effort. You'll likely be putting in long hours and dealing with stressful issues. On top of that, your first few years are probably going to be incredibly inconsistent, with your business only making a profit some of the time. So this can wreak havoc on your finances and your own personal peace of mind. However, I'm not saying this to scare you away from it. This is definitely a high pressure job, if you will, not necessarily a job because you're running your own business. But if you're looking to work a 40-hour week, entrepreneurship may not be for you. If you're willing to put in the work, it can be extremely rewarding. So remember that all this hard work will be in service to yourself, not an employer. So although the risks are on you, the rewards are too. So again, we're going to look at some of the more common obstacles to entrepreneurship. Number one is there's a lot of work, and we'll talk about how to navigate them. And then again, we'll have a chance to discuss these in groups. Okay, so we'll start today with some of the mental obstacles to building a business. So becoming a successful entrepreneur typically demands some kind of experience. So you need to understand your industry and business management and in general, or if you want to really earn a living from your company. So when you have limited experience, you may be reluctant to move forward, and that's understandable. So in order to kind of move past this, you can make up for this by actively seeking the experience that you lack. So maybe it's taking an online course so that you better understand how business management works. Maybe you're going to find a leadership position in a student club or on a team. That'll help you acquire strategic planning and people management skills. So work with what you know and work with your network to really be able to build out some of these skills and experience that you may not have right now. I would also recommend working with a mentor or some kind of coach who can help you figure out what kind of experience you need to be successful in your business. Okay, so even if you do have working experience, entrepreneurship is likely something that you've never done before. You're going to be asked to do things that you didn't even know were things that someone had to do. And guess what? There's no one else to do it. So you're either going to have to figure it out or it's not going to get done. So there are definitely some things that you can push off, but you can bet that the Canadian Revenue Agency will be after you if you don't pay your taxes on time. So the best way to work through this is to adopt a growth mindset. See every new thing that you need to do as a challenge that you're going to figure out. So use these resources that you need in order to get it done. And that could include hiring help when you need it, right? Not all of us are tax experts. You can hire someone to do your taxes. That's totally allowed. The next obstacle we're going to talk about is the fear of failure. So lack of confidence is an entrepreneurship killer. It's true that the failure rate for new businesses is very high. Half of new companies fail within 5 years. So in order to get over those odds, you'll need a healthy dose of confidence in both yourself as well as your idea. So to do this, change your mindset from what you think of failure to be. So previously, you've probably thought of failure as, if I don't do something right, I'm going to fail and that's bad. Instead, think of failure as an opportunity for learning and growth. Failing doesn't mean bad. Failing means, okay, I did something wrong this time, but how can I do it better next time? It's not an end of the road or an indication of your abilities. It's not a stain on your character. It's just an opportunity for you to learn something new. So one of the other things you can do here too to get over your fear of failure is read stories of successful entrepreneurs. There's always the Facebook story to come back to. Facebook did not have a glorious starting as a company. There's the Social Network, there's a movie about it. There was a lot of legal challenges, and Mark Zuckerberg was a student at the time. So look into stories like that to give yourself an understanding of what it actually takes to be an entrepreneur, right? You don't need to be this incredible, amazing. Obviously you can be an incredible, amazing person, but you don't have to feel like you are Mark Zuckerberg already. You'll get there eventually. Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is imposter syndrome. So this is also known as perceived fraudulence. And this basically involves feelings of self-doubt and personal incompetence that persist despite your education, experience, and accomplishments. So to counter these feelings, often people will end up working harder and holding yourself to higher and higher standards. And this pressure can eventually take a pretty heavy toll on your emotional well-being as well as your performance. So there's a couple things you can do to counter imposter syndrome. The first one is just to acknowledge it when it happens. If you feel like you shouldn't be somewhere because you don't have the experience to be there, acknowledge it, give it the light of day, and then avoid giving in to the urge to do everything yourself. The biggest thing that you can do, the worst thing that you can do here is just start to pick up more and more work to prove that you should be where you are. You can still delegate tasks. You can still rely on others. You should rely on your mutual support network. But ask yourself if there are any actual facts to support why you feel like you shouldn't be where you are. Look for pieces of evidence to counter those facts. Often this is something that we see happen, but it's really just us in our heads, right? There's no reason to think that we shouldn't be where we are. People recognized your talents and your potential and gave you the opportunities that they did, right? So acknowledge that and avoid comparing yourself to others, because that can make it harder to really respect where you are right now. All right, so if you're working in entrepreneurship in general, but especially in the tech industry, you are often going to be the only woman in the room. And yes, it's particularly bad in tech, but this happens in a lot of other industries too. So if you are going to be the only woman or a woman female identifying, give yourself a pep talk. So being the only one can really take a toll on your confidence, even if you don't want it to. So before you head into a new environment, just give yourself a little pep talk, listen to your favorite song, or even get advice from a mentor. So sometimes you just need a little reminder that you've put in hard work and you've earned the right to be there. So we just talked about imposter syndrome. Don't let imposter syndrome stop you from being the only woman in the room. A couple other things here. So watch your language. So it tends to come more naturally for men to speak authoritatively, while women are more inclined to develop vocal patterns that are really good tools for building relationships, but not necessarily, they typically get judged as insecure or timid in a male-dominated environment. So avoid things like upward intonations in your speech, trailing off at the end of your sentences, and things like using like and which I'm probably not doing a good job of right now, but try to learn how to avoid using those filler words within your conversation. So just speak boldly and confidently. Make sure that your voice is heard, but also trusted and respected. The last thing is stop censoring yourself. So as young girls, when we're growing up, you're often made to feel like you are imperfect and that you're not supposed to speak up. This gives you this kind of self-censor, which makes it less likely for you to speak up, unless you're sure that you're going to be positively received. So practice not censoring yourself. Throw caution to the wind. Stop hesitating when you have a question or idea. Speak up. Your voice matters. And this is something that you have to practice. Same with your language. These are things that the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll feel doing it. Okay, we've kind of covered the mental barriers to entrepreneurship. So there's two more categories. So there's the actual company itself. So some of the barriers that you may face based on your company and your idea. And then the last one is just your personal situation. So let's talk about some of the barriers that you may face related to your business itself. So the first and foremost is you can't really build a business if you don't have a good idea. So for some kind of product or service that you can sell to others. So without a solid business plan, you won't be able to convince investors or team members to join you. And you don't know what to work on because you don't even know where to begin. So unfortunately, this is one of the hardest obstacles to kind of work around because you really do need a good idea to start a business, period. So luckily, there are some ways to stimulate better idea generation. So talk to people who are outside your normal group of friends or family. So talk to people with diverse perspectives. Read the news. Honestly, it sounds silly, but read the news, especially business news, because all those articles on something like the Globe and Mail, they'll all be about the problems that large businesses are facing, which are all opportunities for entrepreneurship. And take a more robust approach to brainstorming. So if you've tried just, putting yourself in front of a whiteboard or a notebook and just writing down ideas, that's definitely a way to brainstorm, but look up other ways of brainstorming that are a little bit more structured, and you might get some more success out of it. So some of those techniques are things like mind mapping or word banking. So if you want to Google those can help get your creative juices flowing. Okay, our next obstacle is a lack of network in the target market. So if you're trying to enter a market in which you've never worked and you've never really participated in, it can be pretty difficult to connect with the right people. So there's a couple tips for how to build out your network. So number one is if you are going to networking events, so you could consider today one of them, try to offer your help first before asking people what they can do for you. So you want to build that relationship as someone who provides value rather than as someone who always needs things. Social media is also an incredibly powerful tool. Try to become a resource on social media and talk about the things that you care about and talk about the things that are relevant to your business. To build your network too, you can get customers involved in your business before they actually buy something. So if you're building a product, that might mean that they're actually like beta testing, or they're actually like testing out your product in some way before you actually build the thing. If you're a service, you might offer them some kind of like pro bono support before they actually pay for your services. So you really try to involve your target market before you try to sell to them. A couple other things too. So stay in touch with your former connections. One of the biggest mistakes people make with networking is just not following up with the people that they've met. So try to really stay in touch with people. If you see an article that's related to your industry that you think someone else might like, just send it to them. Don't feel like you're bugging them. If it's something that you think is important, honestly, they probably will too. The last thing, which by being part of this session you're already doing, is get involved in your local community, your local startup or small business community. There are so many resources that are available within your community. So get as involved in your local communities, but also any other communities that you feel like you should be a part of. Okay, our next obstacle is it's just not the right time. So poor timing. So this is a very common excuse for people when they're starting the business. And this is not related to you not having enough time. We'll talk about that in a second. This is more about it's just the wrong time in the world for my idea. So the truth is there's really never a right time. You're always going to find some reason that today or this week or this month or this year just isn't ideal for launching your company. So this is like beginning a diet on a Wednesday or joining a gym in February. I mean, the trick is to make your own right time. It doesn't matter when you do it. It doesn't matter when people think you should do it. It matters that you actually get it started. So as an example, Microsoft was born during the oil crisis of the 1970s when people didn't think entrepreneurship was the right thing to do. Same with Airbnb and Uber. They were both founded in the middle of the 2008 recession. So the success of your business will not depend on the times, but on you. So this was particularly relevant because we are still in the middle of the COVID pandemic. That doesn't mean it's necessarily the wrong time to start your business. There's a lot of businesses that are actually flourishing right now. Like look at Amazon, right? They're making so much money because everyone's ordering packages. So think about this as like big economic things or big world things. Yes, it can make it a challenge to start your business, but it also can make it a lot easier, a lot more successful for your business. All right, we've got a few more challenges to talk through. The next one related to your business itself is regulations. So regulations, every business has to adhere to certain regulations. So paying taxes on time, we've already talked about that. That is a regulation that the Canadian government has to make sure that they're actually collecting their revenue from you as a business. So all businesses have regulations, but some markets have additional regulations. So this is things like healthcare, finance, even consumer goods. So these are markets where the government has a vested interest in controlling that market, usually in order to ensure the public interest. So unfortunately, there's no real secret to navigating these markets. Typically, the rules are spelled out for you. So just play by the rules. Don't think that you can get around them because that often comes back to really, really bite you. A good example that's in the news right now is Theranos. Theranos, basically, they said they had things they didn't, and they violated a bunch of Health Canada and FDA rules. And now the founders potentially going to jail for fraud. So when you're working in a heavily regulated market, play by the rules, even if it takes you longer to get to market. But as an entrepreneur, you can also look for ways to get your product to market sooner. So this might mean entering a similar but slightly different market. So a good example is if you're creating a medical product, instead of going straight to humans and working with Health Canada and the FDA, maybe look at veterinary market first. So can your technology be used for animal health rather than human health? There are still regulations there, but they're a lot less stringent. Oh, I just realized I had not advanced my slide. That is the slide for regulations. Amazing. Okay, let's jump into some of the things that might be obstacles based on your current life situation. And so this is where I'm going to talk about not having enough time. So some people avoid starting a business because of their existing responsibilities or other constraints on their time. So you might have a full-time job, you might be a full-time student, you might be a parent, you might have other personal responsibilities, and these hold you back from your entrepreneurial ambitions. So in order to really determine how much of an impact these responsibilities have, think about things like, could you realistically quit your day job? Could you realistically drop out of school? Can you hire someone to help you with these responsibilities, right? So think about the things that you're willing to give up and stop doing in order to pursue your business. If there are opportunities to do that, try to delegate those tasks or just stop doing them. If not, it honestly just might be the wrong time. Like if you're full-time student, you're also working a part-time job, you're also raising a child, like it might just be a bad time to start a business. And so in this case, try to find a way to actually remove some of those external things that you have the creative opportunity to actually create that business. Okay, another one is finances. So launching a business does take money. Most people don't have just abundance of cash to throw at a company. So there are a couple of options here. So you could definitely get ahead of it and try to save as much money as possible to start your business. Maybe there are things you can do. Maybe you can pick up a part-time job. Maybe you can reduce your monthly spending on restaurants or something like that. Start to save as much as possible so that you have something to fall back on. You can also secure funding in a bunch of different ways. So this might be borrowing from friends and family, crowdfunding, seeking loans and grants, or even working with investors, so angel investors and venture capitalists. There is always a way to move forward and get funding for your business. Okay, our next one is family pressure. And so there's two kind of ways you might get pressure from your family. So the first is your family might be like, hey, why don't you go get a real job? And the second might be, hey, you should start a family of your own. You may already have kids, and so you'll have the additional pressure of making sure that your kids are being well taken care of. So you can navigate this. It will be stressful, but you can find a way to have a successful family and a successful company at the same time. You can also find a way to tell your family that you're doing what you're doing for a reason, and that that might not conform to what they think is expected from you. And so each family's dynamic is different. So if you need support in having these conversations, I recommend finding a licensed therapist or counselor who can help you navigate your unique relationships. Okay, and our last common barrier to entrepreneurship is not having a support system. So as every business leader quickly finds, it is extremely lonely at the top. So you have the burden of decisions and risks falling on your plate. You really do need a strong support network that can offer advice and understanding. But building that network takes effort and energy. So some tips for building out your support network, which is different from your network in your target market. So your support network is typically going to be other entrepreneurs who can relate to what you're going through. So some tips to meet those people: come to sessions like this. This is an amazing way to meet other entrepreneurs. Be bold about reaching out to people. So if you find someone who you really admire, send them a message. You want to meet people one-on-one as much as possible, maybe not face-to-face given everything that's going on, but look for people that you admire and ask them to do a virtual coffee or in-person coffee. Show that you're serious about growing your business and be direct about how they can help you. Attending social events is great, but you can also host them. So there are plenty of local gatherings for entrepreneurs, but if you want to host one yourself, you can actually get a lot of cred for that because you're helping other people meet new people too. So people will remember you as the person who brought them together. Again, same with building your network and your target market. Give more than you ask. So provide value first and then ask for things. And also make sure that you're following up with people, old friends or old people in your network, to make sure that you're keeping that relationship going. Amazing. Okay, that is an overview of some of the most common barriers to entrepreneurship. Everything we have talked about so far is a challenge, but don't worry. If you want to, you can and will overcome these challenges.